Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a great Tuesday, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. And it looks like we received a huge win from a federal judge over here to have to rule Delaware's newly enacted measure unconstitutional, which is a fantastic thing right before the midterms. I know people within the Democrat Party, Pelosi and Biden, and all these people are probably pretty upset by this ruling, because it narrows their chances of winning House seats or a Senate seat, and things like that. This needs to start happening more so across the country, because this was a real problem back in 2020 when they adopted this rule, so let's dive into it. This is coming from Biden's home state of Delaware over here. And this is coming to us from the Post-Colonial. Says Delaware court strikes down Democrats' same-day registration and expanded mail-in voting laws. Delaware Supreme Court on Friday struck down the state's vote-by-mail and same-day registered voter registration laws after Democrats rammed the provision through the General Assembly back in June. Delaware Supreme Court on Friday struck down the state's vote-by-mail and same-day registered voter registration laws after Democrats ran the provision through the General Assembly in June, without going through the required method of amending the state's constitution to change election laws. Republican candidate for Delaware Attorney General Julian Murray served as the lawyers for the plaintiffs, and filing this lawsuit against the state election officials, arguing that Democrats were acting unconstitutionally when they passed the legislation to allow for mail-in voting and same-day registered registration. According to the AP News report, James Brady, the chair of the state Republican Party, retired judge and former Delaware Attorney General, also represented the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, said mail-in voting does not comport with the Constitution. I believe that the legislator has known from day one that they needed a constitutional amendment to this, she said, adding. A Democrat lawmaker to acknowledge during a debate on the legislation that it might face challenges before the courts. In my view, they have directly their responsibility. She added the courts of clemency or chancery, and September ruled the Democrats' action violated provision the state constitution. See, it didn't matter for them. Democrats didn't care. They knew it was unconstitutional. But they did it anyway, because they knew they could do it. They could definitely impact the election in 2020. In Delaware, I'm sure there was probably many people in Delaware that were impacted by the same-day registration. It's crazy. It's crazy to have seen a resident registration and voting. So you register on that day that you're going to vote and you vote no. There's a process to all of that. If you don't, there has to be a deadline for wanting to vote. Or if you want to do that, you have to pass it into the Constitution. It has to be constitutionally amended. It would in the state constitution. This is why Democrats in the federal level want to surpass any state requirement that would hinder people to be able to vote on the same day as they're being registered and not using ID or having illegals vote. This is all part of their scheme. And now that this is happening here in Delaware, hopefully we'll see it happen in other states that this occurred in, and we can go ahead and stop this type of an the way they've circumvented the state constitution to amend these voting laws. So it's very important that we continue to fight back and push back on every level. This is why it's important. Again, your local elections are paramount. They impact you the most. Make sure you're getting out there, and you're researching your state legislators that are running for office, the state reps, the state senators, your local government. All of that is important, just as important, much more important than the federal level. So make sure you are out there. You're supporting these candidates who are going to support your state's constitution and their service to the state. And some significant news, the left. It's just a little bit rich that these left boys keep calling us the fascists, where they seem to be trying to model themselves after the authoritarian communist regime in China. Oh, those darn conservatives in their small government, fascism, their bodily autonomy and right to work and right to speak, right to bear arms and defend themselves. Oh, those real scary fascists. What we really need to fight fascism is a social credit score and internet censorship and a misinformation ministry of truth ran by the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice. You cannot make this stuff up. These people are insane, literally insane. And then this week's segment of the left is a true side of authoritarianism. We have PayPal and their dry run of a social credit score. Absolutely insane stuff, folks. We've got to talk about it. And of course, You got to translate it to a more macro meta view of the left wing's slow march towards authoritarianism. It continues to ramp up. Alright, folks, I'm sure you guys know the story. But if you aren't, here's the headline: New PayPal policy lets firm find users $2,500 for spreading misinformation. Terms of service condemned and called an abomination. A new PayPal user policy that permits the company to find users $2,500 for spreading, quote, misinformation has caused quite a stir on social media platforms after November 3rd. Anyone who posts or publish information or content to promote misinformation will be subject to the penalty. This is absolutely disgusting Orwellian stuff, especially since we know exactly what misinformation really means. It means anything the leftist regime deems unacceptable. It means anything the leftist fact-checkers disagree with. The one joke that everyone keeps on making is that, well, now if you say that men can't get pregnant, hey, pal is gonna steal $2,500 from your damn bank account. Based on what authority does PayPal have the right to find you? I mean, how crazy is that? But this is the era that we live in. These leftist tech companies, and of course we know they're supported by the current regime. And so they're doing the dirty work for them. This is an extension of the move that Justin Trudeau did during the Freedom Convoys. Anybody caught donating will have their bank accounts frozen. Well, if Justin Trudeau did it, then we can certainly get away with it. And then these leftists have the audacity to claim that we're the side of fascism. Of course, in their defense, they probably argue, well, this is PayPal. It's a private corporation, has nothing to do with leftism. Give me a break. We know exactly where PayPal stands. And of course, we saw extraordinary backlash against PayPal's policies. Even Elon Musk, who's a co-founder of the company, of course, he since sold it, but Elon Musk is one of the founders of the original PayPal service. Get your money out right now. Elon Musk and PayPal Mafia lead insanity backlash against shock blunder. That's the best thing to ever happen to Bitcoin and crypto. And right after the backlash, PayPal walks back. Update to user policy that threatened a $25,000 penalty for spreading misinformation. A PayPal spokesman notified The Blaze that an A-up notice recently went out in error that included incorrect information. PayPal is not finding people for misinformation. And this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. Our teams are working hard to correct our policy. Pages are sorry for the confusion that this has caused. Give me a break. PayPal's response essentially can be summed up like this. Except the only thing is that they're not actually sorry for what they did. There's no way that this was a terms of service policy page mistake. They're just sorry that they got caught. That is obviously what is happening here, as if we're supposed to believe this. Now this is exactly where the left is going. Major tech companies, and especially these tech monopolies. I mean, PayPal is basically a monopoly when it comes to online payment services. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that PayPal also owns Venmo. We have Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, who are also monopolies in their own rights. We have these massive tech companies who control too much, and they are in cahoots with the FBI, as we saw with the whole Hunter Biden fiasco involving Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Facebook and Twitter, where they're in cahoots with the federal government, at least the Democrat federal government, in order to censor speech and control the populace. This is no mistake or coincidence. This is a continuation of continuously pushing forward slowly but surely as the reigning globalist elites move our society, our globe, further into a technocratic, dystopian authoritarian nightmare. They're looking at the CCP with cameras everywhere, with apps that track your every single move, all of your transactions, everything you do, everything you say, everything you look at, putting every single citizen in a box in a file where they know everything about you. They're looking at the Chinese social credit score. They're not revolted by looking at it as if it's a terrible authoritarian thing. They're looking at it and they're salivating at the potential for power. They're power hungry, and Chinese-style technocratic authoritarianism and social credit scores is on the menu for the global elites. Clearly, that is exactly what's going on here. And that's why they're working so hard to stop Elon Musk from buying Twitter. He's standing in their way. That's why they're working so hard to go after Governor Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis, who are challenging online tech censorship. That's why they're trying everything in their power to stop Donald Trump. It's why they're attacking Giorgio Meloni, the new Prime Minister of Italy, who's challenging the new liberal world order. People would say that, oh, this is just kooky conspiratorial stuff. And you might have been able to say that maybe 10 years ago now. I don't think so. Justin Trudeau just froze the bank accounts of Canadian citizens who participated in a peaceful protest. Joe Biden created a misinformation ministry of truth, where he put in charge a deeply partisan total conspiracy theory, not in charge to dictate with the power of the federal government. What is and what isn't accurate information now? Conveniently enough, what is it 6 to 8 months later? We have PayPal trying to do the exact same thing, attempting to fine people $2,500 for linking an article that isn't approved by the globalist regimes. How disgusting is that? If you are not sick to your stomach, if you are not angry, filled with anger and rage, and you're not paying attention, or you're on their team, and I don't care what people say, well, that has nothing to do with Democrats or liberals. Yes, it does. You are on their team. Your leaders are part of this new liberal world order. And you have been somehow conned into believing that government should be censoring speech. And somehow that's a good thing. You've been somehow conned into believing through this ridiculously weak argument of Mipro v. Company that globalist tech billionaires have the right to control speech, and what information is put out there ahead of elections. And at the same time you keep going on about EU democracy, and we must protect our democracy from the evil fascist threat from within. Where do you get that information from? Once again, from the corporate media, the corporate press, the globalist billionaires, and he totally manipulated algorithms that have fed your worldview to you. It's not a grand conspiracy, folks. It's not science fiction. It's happening. It's happened before. Maybe it's never been as sophisticated, but we live in different times. And although it might look a little bit different at the end, at its core, it's the exact same thing. People question me why I'm into cryptocurrencies. Oh, it's a volatile market. I don't see a real world use for it. Well, I'd rather own crypto. I'd rather own physical gold than have Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, PayPal, or the rest of these goons seize my money from my account for saying a thing that they don't like. Wake up, folks. The fascists are plotting, and they're not the MAGA terrorists fascists. It's not Donald Trump. It's the people pointing the finger. That's what I got for you guys though. If you appreciate these updates, please smash that like button. Put your comments down below. Thank you very much. www